Top 10 gemstones banned from trade, and why collectors still hunt them. Some treasures were never meant to be owned. They shine too brightly or cost too much. Not in gold, but in conscience. Across deserts, jungles, and ocean beds lie stones so rare, entire nations have outlawed them. Yet collectors still chase their glimmer through shadows and silence. Each gem you're about to see was once celebrated, revered, even worshipped, until it became too powerful, too scarce, or too controversial to remain free. Some were banned to protect the earth itself, others to protect us from what we might become if we kept digging deeper. But the bans never stopped the hunt, because beauty, once discovered, cannot be unseen. These stones carry more than color. They carry the weight of history, conflict, and longing. They are relics of desire written in the language of pressure and time. This is not just a story about gemstones. It's a story about obsession, about the human need to possess what nature designed to remain untouchable. In the next few minutes, we'll uncover the Earth's most forbidden treasures, the top 10 gemstones banned from trade, and why collectors still hunt them. Ranked 10th, Paraíba tourmaline, where lightning learns to breathe. Not black, deep ocean blue, a slow current, a hum, then a fracture of light, spreading like nerve fire through stone. Suddenly the world glows from within. Before 1989, humanity had never seen this color inside the earth. Blue existed, cyan existed, turquoise existed. But this was current, as if thunder had liquefied and chosen a body of crystal. The hilltops of Paraíba, Brazil, were dusty, quiet, anonymous. Miners dug pegmatite veins for decades without prophecy. Then one day a tunnel deep in the iron-rich hill yawned open, and something impossible flickered in a miner's hand. Paraíba tourmaline forms only when nature performs a precision feat. Pegmatites starved of oxygen, pressure kissing the edge of surrender, and traces of copper and manganese trapped in crystal lattice like lightning bottled mid-strike. Copper, normally the bloodline of patina and metal fatigue, here becomes electric plasma suspended in silicate, shifting from Caribbean surf to rare Arctic neon, a hue neither ocean nor sky has yet claimed. Viewed under UV, the gem does not merely glow, it breathes like bioluminescent tide under moonlight, a color that feels alive enough to speak, yet fragile enough to disappear if stared at too long. Luxury did not invent rarity, geology did, and geology has a sense for theatrical timing. Local elders named it agua relampago, lightning water, not seen as a jewel but as a promise to clear sight, sharpen truth, burn away deception. In Afro-Brazilian ritual tradition, blue stones carry connotations of oath and clarity. They are not ornaments, they are guardians of honesty, placed in pockets of travelers, rubbed before confessions, held quietly during vows whispered in candlelit chapels. Later, Japanese collectors nicknamed it the soul current. French dealers called it le bleu qui n'existe pas, the blue that should not exist. Cultures thousands of miles apart invented different languages for the same emotion. Wonder sharpened into devotion. Market, a rarity that decided its own fate. Modern markets attempt logic, supply curves, demand curves, price history. Paraíba tourmaline obeys none. The original mines whispered open, then fell silent in mere years. Today, true specimens emerge rarely. Single veins exhausted, old tunnels collapsing back into earth like wolves returning to forest. Collectors do not discuss Paraíba publicly. Transactions unfold in private salons, hushed galleries, digitally blurred auctions where provenance is verified by whisper. Value in this realm is not currency. It is permission to witness. A carat price is a rumor. The actual figure is a boundary. The wealthy do not brag about Paraíba. They protect it, like memory, like myth. Some stones are luxury by price. This one is luxury by miracle. Paraíba tourmaline is not rare because few exist. It is rare because the earth almost never chose this experiment, and because it may never choose it again. When held to light, its glow is not brilliance. It is origin, a reminder that lightning once passed through darkness. Ranked 9th, fire obsidian, the volcano's hidden prism. Beneath the volcanic plateaus of southern Oregon, black glass lies scattered like frozen night. The first miners who found it thought it worthless. Just another shard of obsidian, sharp-edged, opaque, cold. They called it slag rock, a leftover of lava's temper. No one suspected that inside those dull surfaces slept one of the rarest optical miracles on Earth. When sunlight hits it at a certain angle, fire obsidian doesn't simply reflect, it ignites. Colors bloom like auroras trapped in stone, gold melting into green, green fading into violet. But this isn't pigment, it's physics. Inside the glass, invisible layers of nanothin films, each one a boundary where light hesitates, split the spectrum apart. Every hue seen in fire obsidian is a result of interference, not inclusion. It's not what's inside that glows, but how light itself struggles to escape. Geologically, fire obsidian is obsidian plus perfection. It formed when rhyolitic lava cooled so rapidly that crystal lattices never had time to organize. Within milliseconds, molten silica turned to glass. Then over eons, microscopic mineral bands developed. Iron, titanium, and magnetite suspended like threads in darkness. To the naked eye, it remained a black mirror. Only under the precision of lapidary work did its true identity emerge. Cut at the wrong angle, it stays lifeless. Cut at the right one, exactly along the interference plane, it burns with layered flame. When gem cutters in the 1990s first uncovered this effect in Oregon's highlands, disbelief followed discovery. They saw a rainbow trapped inside a stone the world had dismissed. Collectors called it fire obsidian, as if the volcano itself had kept a secret for 1,000 years. Unlike most gemstones, it can't be faked. Heat, acid, polish, none can reproduce the spectral depth created by volcanic chance. In the lapidary world, working with fire obsidian is an act of patience bordering on reverence. Each rough piece is mapped with a beam of light, searching for the direction where color reveals itself. Most fail, but when it works, the effect is hypnotic. Rings of color shifting like oil on water, yet cleaner, more disciplined. A single gem can display up to 7 layers of interference, each one reflecting a different wavelength of light. No two are the same. Local legend says the colors are the last breath of the volcano, trapped when Earth's heat met its own reflection. The Klamath tribes who once walked these lava fields saw obsidian as the stone of mirrors, capable of revealing not just faces, but truth. Modern geologists might smile at the myth, but even under laboratory light, fire obsidian behaves like a mirror that answers back. Ranked 8th, red spinel, the royal impostor that became a king. Torchlight glides across royal insignia, gold tarnished by time, velvet frayed from centuries of ceremony, and set into ancient crowns. Rubies, they were called. Kings swore by them. Conquerors marched for them. Dynasties rose beneath their glow. Yet history, like gemstones, refracts truth. Many of these rubies were not ruby at all. They were spinel, a gem so noble it wore the title of another for centuries, not in shame, but in silent sovereignty. Luxury has grown louder over time. Logos, spotlights, declarations. But Spinel's story is the opposite. Prestige measured not by applause, but by patience. The Black Prince's ruby, centerpiece of the British imperial state crown. The Timur ruby, gifted between rulers as if nations were chess pieces. Mughal emperors carved prayers onto its flesh, believing red stone could hold divine presence. They treasured it not for a name, but for the way light moved inside it. Flame without smoke, royalty without permission. Spinel did not impersonate Ruby. Ruby borrowed Spinel's throne until science arrived to correct the record. Spinel's beauty does not beg. Its color sits deeper than surface. A saturation carried in magnesium aluminum oxide, hardened in metamorphic crucibles along faulted mountain belts. Burma, Sri Lanka, Tajikistan. Where marble transforms under unimaginable pressure, spinel blooms from rock like ember through ash. Unlike ruby's internal silk, spinel's clarity often feels as if the gem were carved from concentrated dusk. Red without noise, luster like quiet flame. In Persian courts, spinel was called lal, the blood of kings. Not blood shed, but blood line. Vitality of rule. On the Silk Road, caravans traded it alongside jade and lapis as talisman against treachery. Merchants believed spinel protected rightful power and unveiled false allegiances. Centuries later, when European mineralogists reclassified it, something fascinating happened. Royalty did not discard spinel. They refused to remove it from crowns. Truth had shifted, but reverence remained. A lesson in luxury. Some names change. Legacy does not. In modern luxury, loud names once ruled. Brands, traditions, diamond mythology. But today, informed collectors turn their gaze not to the famous, but to the misunderstood. Spinel's ascent began not in boutiques, but in laboratories, auction halls, research journals, whispered connoisseur circles. As science corrected history, collectors corrected markets. Prices climbed not from hype, but from justice. Spinel became the emblem of a new wealth psychology. Knowledge as status, truth as prestige, rarity as identity, and the confidence to adore a gem before marketing campaigns told the world to. Quiet ranked 7th, blue amber, the fossilized sky. It looks ordinary until the light shifts. Under the Caribbean sun, the brown turns to blue, like trapped lightning awakening inside ancient resin. This is blue amber, a stone that glows with echoes from a vanished forest. Tens of millions of years ago, trees called Hymenaea protera oozed resin into tropical air. Over ages, heat and pressure turned that resin into amber. But in the Dominican Republic, something stranger happened. Within these ancient droplets, molecular bonds twisted slightly, so that when sunlight hits, they scatter blue instead of gold. A geological accident and a chromatic miracle. No other amber glows like this. Baltic amber is honey. Burmese amber is red. But only Dominican amber, from the extinct trees of Hispaniola, burns blue under light, as if remembering a sky that no longer exists. Collectors call it the fossilized sky. Scientists call it fluorescence from aromatic hydrocarbons. But the locals have another name, Piedra del Alma, the soul stone. They believe each piece traps a spirit that once flew in sunlight and now sleeps in stone. Inside some pieces lie the remains of ancient lives. Ants, flowers, wings, even air bubbles from a prehistoric breeze. Each one a time capsule, sealed by accident, preserved by patience. To hold blue amber is to hold time itself. Not the violent time of volcanoes, but the slow time of decay, the kind that turns death into luminescence. But even light has its price. Mining here is dangerous. Tunnels collapse easily, the air thick with dust. Families dig by hand, using chisels and candles, chasing veins no wider than a finger. The trade is small, legal in parts, yet often unregulated. Children grow up playing beside walls that could swallow them. Each piece of amber that reaches a jeweler's table has passed through silence, sweat, and risk. When international collectors discovered its optical magic in the 1980s, blue amber exploded in value. But like all miracles, it became misunderstood. Counterfeits flooded markets. UV coatings imitated fluorescence. Suddenly, the line between real and fake blurred, just as the line between light and shadow does inside the gem itself. Culturally, blue amber became the Caribbean's paradox. A stone both luminous and endangered, legal yet exploited. Museums frame it as nature's oldest photograph, light from an ancient sun, trapped forever. To scientists, it is a record of biodiversity. To miners, a day's survival. To collectors, a dream. Every beam of light that wakes blue amber also reminds us, the forests it came from are gone, the trees extinct, the insects inside erased from the living world. Its glow is not just beauty, it is memory. Light traveling from a time before humans, whispering that every miracle we touch comes from something that no longer breathes. When the light leaves it, blue amber sleeps again, a fossil dreaming of sky. Ranked 6th, Larimar, the ocean born in fire. Discovered officially in 1974, though locals had long known it washed ashore in pebbles, Larimar became a national treasure overnight. For a small Caribbean nation, It was as if the sea had given them a miracle. Blue gold from the heart of the island. But miracles are fragile. Mining Larimar is not for the faint-hearted. Men descend vertical shafts more than 100 feet deep, with only ropes, chisels, and faith. The tunnels flood during storms. Landslides bury entrances. For every glistening gem pendant seen in a tourist shop, there are hours of darkness and danger beneath it. Still, the miners dig, not for profit alone, but for legacy. For many families, Larimar is not just a livelihood, it's heritage. They call the mine El Cielo Azul, the blue heaven. To them, the stone is a gift the island gives and takes back in equal measure. Culturally, Larimar embodies reversal, ocean and fire exchanging places. It's a gemstone that shouldn't exist, volcanic rock wearing the color of water. That paradox made it a symbol of balance, male and female, land and sea, creation and destruction. New Age healers call it the Stone of Peace, though its birth was anything but peaceful. Market-wise, Larimar's story mirrors its structure, radiant on the surface, fractured beneath. Mines are nearly depleted. Illegal diggings expand into protected forest zones. Each year, the layers grow thinner. Collectors speak of first-generation Larimar, the deep sky blue now gone. Tourists still buy pendants, unaware that they wear the last chapter of a geological saga. In 2022, the Dominican government imposed tighter restrictions, export permits, environmental oversight, and mine safety standards, all to preserve what little remains. The world applauded the ethics. Yet on the ground, the miners whispered, the sea is closing. Reversal. The ocean returns to claim what fire once made. And in that act, Larimar becomes both origin and ending. It is said the stone carries calm, but perhaps what it carries is acceptance, that nothing truly precious is ever permanent. When the mines fall silent, the waves will still move, and somewhere beneath them, the earth will remember the blue it once breathed. Ranked fifth, sugilite, the color that refused to fade. There are stones that dazzle and stones that hum. This one hums, a violet resonance buried under South Africa's red earth, discovered by chance, controlled by secrecy, and worshipped for what people believe it can do to the soul. Its name is sugilite, the healer's stone. But the world knows it for something else, a color no camera can truly capture. Geologically, it is an accident of chemistry. Potassium, lithium, and iron, bound under heat at the edge of ancient manganese deposits. Where other minerals break symmetry, sugilite completes it. A purple born of balance, where chaos cools into order. Its molecular lattice holds traces of lithium, the same element that powers modern batteries. A fitting irony for a stone believed to recharge the human spirit. It was first discovered in Japan in 1944 by Professor Ken Ichisugi, but remained obscure until miners in South Africa unearthed a deep violet vein in the late 1970s. What began as scientific curiosity became something closer to spiritual fervor. Gem healers called it New Age amethyst. Collectors saw a color that seemed almost ultraviolet, unphotographable, hypnotic. Within a decade, the rush began, and so did the restrictions. Most of the world's gem-quality sugilite lies under land owned by De Beers, a name synonymous with control. Access is limited, extraction heavily monitored, and sales often reserved for industrial contracts. As the global appetite for metaphysical stones grew, sugilite became the forbidden fruit of crystal healing, a gem believed to awaken compassion, locked behind corporate gates. But the truth, as always, is geological. Its rarity has nothing mystical about it, just the improbable alignment of manganese and lithium in a specific pressure zone 1,000 meters deep. The deeper the miners dig, the darker the stone becomes, until violet turns nearly black, as if purity itself retreats from reach. Culturally, its power grew faster than its supply. In South Africa, local legends merge the gem's violet hue with ancestral myths. They say the color bridges earth and spirit, guiding souls through night. In Japan, the name sugilite became a quiet tribute to a scientist who sought knowledge, not worship. But in markets, it became something else entirely. By the early 2000s, Fake sugalite flooded online stores. Plastic dyed purple, rebranded as royal lavulite. The market's faith outpaced its geology, an old pattern repeating itself. Then came revelation. Scientists studying its spectrum realized sugalite absorbs almost every wavelength of visible light, except the faintest edge of violet. It is not glowing. It is refusing to fade. That's why no photograph matches its reality. It keeps color the way the earth keeps secrets. Sugalite, the healer's stone, is a paradox of access, found by science, controlled by commerce, claimed by faith. Each piece sold today is a fraction of what remains. The rest lies entombed under corporate contracts and ethical uncertainty. In every violet shimmer lies a quiet truth. We don't find meaning in stones. We project it. The earth reveals, humans interpret, and somewhere between revelation and belief, the light bends, turns purple, and disappears. Ranked fourth, serendipite, the stone of the impossible. Every land has its legend, and every legend has a gemstone that defines it. Here on the island once called Serendib, the word serendipity was born, meaning discovery by accident, guided by fate. From that same island came a stone so rare, its existence feels like fate itself. Serendipite, a gem that lives between science and myth, between what we can measure and what we can only sense. At first glance, it looks unremarkable, dark, nearly opaque. But under polarized light, it ignites. Blue, teal, green, violet, shifting with angles, defying stability. A mineral forged from calcium, magnesium, aluminum, silicon, and boron. A combination so improbable that nature almost never repeats it. The conditions must be exact. Temperatures near metamorphic melting point, pressure deep within marble, trace elements align like chords in a rare symphony. Only a few pockets on Earth ever achieved this harmony. Ratnapura in Sri Lanka, Mogok in Myanmar, and a ridge in Madagascar. Each produced crystals smaller than a fingernail, each now nearly exhausted. In the early 1900s, colonial mineralogists thought serendipite was spinel or sapphire. It wasn't until 1902 that scientists in Ceylon's Gal laboratory recognized it as something entirely new. A stone so compositionally complex it blurred the line between classification and chaos. But rarity is both blessing and curse. By the 1980s, the mines had closed. By the 2000s, export permits became nearly impossible. And today, trade in true serendipite is virtually frozen. Not by law alone, but by absence. Collectors call it the stone of the impossible. Some say it was created where lightning struck marble. Others claim it holds the ocean's first reflection. In Buddhist folklore, black stones that hide light symbolize knowledge, wisdom that reveals itself only to those who look deeper. Serendipite embodies that paradox, beauty concealed within darkness. Market-wise, its scarcity created a rift, because only a handful of authenticated faceted stones exist, fewer than 10 worldwide. The gem sits at a strange intersection of science, spirituality, and speculation. Prices reach into the millions, not because of greed, but because of disbelief. Owning one is like owning proof that chance can be perfect, and yet the more collectors chase it, the more it vanishes. The earth seems to withdraw its miracle, as if to remind us that discovery was never meant to become possession. In Sri Lankan tradition, the word serendib carries another meaning, the joy of finding something you weren't looking for. That joy birthed science, art, religion, and loss. Serendipite's existence teaches that beauty's greatest paradox is this: the more we search for it, the rarer it becomes. What began as accident ends as reverence. The gem remains, unseen by most, untouched by greed, proof that the earth still keeps a few secrets for itself. Ranked third, Burma ruby, the color of purity, shadowed by consequence. In the heart of Asia, where mountains bleed color and rivers run through stone, the earth once forged the purest red ever seen, a red so alive it seemed to pulse. They called it pigeon's blood. They called it Burma ruby. But what the world praised, the land itself began to mourn. For centuries, Mogok was paradise for gem seekers. Kings, colonizers, and merchants all came chasing the same impossible glow. The rubies found here were said to be alive, their red carrying a soft blue undertone, like twilight trapped inside flame. In Buddhist lore, ruby symbolized the heart of the earth, the stone of life force, Padmaraga, the lotus color. To wear one was to carry virtue. To trade one was to tempt karma. When colonial traders arrived, Mogok's silence broke. They mapped, mined, and mechanized what had once been sacred ground. By the 20th century, the valley was no longer legend. It was industry. Millions of carats were sifted from its rivers. The color of enlightenment became currency. Then came the reversal: war, sanctions. In 2008, the United States banned Burmese rubies, linking the trade to human rights violations and armed conflict. What had once symbolized purity now stood for exploitation. The world turned away, not from the stone, but from what it had come to represent. Yet beauty refuses exile. Smugglers found routes through Thailand. Old stock resurfaced in auctions, marketed as vintage. Collectors whispered code words: pre-ban, estate origin. The ban turned rubies into relics. The rarer the access, the deeper the desire. Geologically, ruby is corundum colored by chromium. But in Mogok's soil, trace iron is almost absent, and that absence is what creates perfection. Science calls it chemistry. The locals call it blessing. Some things defy the line between them. Culturally, the gem never stopped glowing. In temples, monks still meditate with rubies at their altars. In royal regalia, they remain the stones of sovereignty. Even banned, they endure, because the world cannot unsee a color once seen. But the reversal continues. Today, some of the same mines once condemned are reopening under new regulations. Sustainable cooperatives emerge beside industrial scars. Miners speak of atonement mining, taking only what the earth willingly reveals. It is not redemption, but return. If serendipite was discovery through accident, then Burma ruby is redemption through awareness. Its story reminds us that beauty is not guilty, but the way we pursue it can be. In every Burma ruby burns a contradiction, a color born of purity, shadowed by consequence. The stone is still banned in places, yet still worshipped everywhere. And perhaps that is its true nature, to remind us that even the brightest red can carry the memory of restraint. Ranked second, ivory fossilized coral. The ocean's memory turned to stone. Before there were gems, there were reefs, living cities of color, built not by hands but by time. And when those cities died, the earth kept their memory, pressed into stone, carved by tide, polished by centuries. This is ivory fossilized coral, a gem born from extinction, now trapped between reverence and prohibition. Each piece once belonged to a living coral, an animal that built limestone towers in shallow seas. Over tens of millions of years, silica replaced calcium carbonate molecule by molecule, preserving every pore and vein. What remains is not coral, but the memory of coral, a fossil so perfect it looks alive. In ancient Asia, these fossils were called flower stones. Samurai carried them for protection. Hindu monks wore them to honor the ocean. And in the islands of the Pacific, they were believed to carry the voices of ancestors. The reef as archive, each pattern a whisper of what once breathed. But in the 21st century, that whisper turned to warning. Because coral is also ivory, not in color, but in consequence. Fossilized coral began to appear in markets beside banned ivory carvings, used as an ethical substitute. Collectors praised its beauty, jewelers sculpted it into cameos. Demand soared, and so did confusion. Was it ancient fossil or modern harvest? Many pieces sold as fossil were freshly cut from living reefs, bleached and disguised. By 2017, global wildlife authorities intervened. Under CITES Appendix 2, all coral species, fossilized or not, came under watch. Trade without certification became illegal. The Earth's oldest architecture was now contraband. The irony was bitter. A stone meant to honor the ocean became a reason to police it, a relic of deep time mistaken for new destruction. Here lies the contrast. Beauty meant to remember life now accused of causing death. For artisans, the ban felt like erasure. For scientists, it was preservation. Both were right. Each fossil carries irreplaceable biological data, the structure of ancient oceans, the chemistry of vanished worlds. To cut it is to lose a page of Earth's diary. To lock it away is to silence its story. Today, authentic fossilized coral can only move through certified geological trade, museum to museum, lab to lab. The black market still thrives, but the true specimens have largely vanished into archives. Collectors now chase provenance, not polish. A coral with papers is worth more than one with luster. Geologically, it tells us oceans have risen and fallen. Culturally, it tells us humanity never stopped carving memory into beauty. But ethically, it asks a harder question. Can we love something without taking it? Ivory fossilized coral is not a gem. It is a mirror. One half shows what once thrived. The other, what still might if we learn to leave it untouched. In first place, blood emerald. The color that remembers, brighter than forest, darker than peace. It is called the blood emerald. Beneath these mountains, water and beryllium once danced in volcanic fractures, fusing into crystals of impossible clarity. Each emerald took millions of years to grow, microscopic layer by layer, in silence, in darkness. And when light finally found them, the world called them treasures. But beauty here was never innocent. For centuries, emeralds shaped kingdoms. Indigenous Muso and Kimbaya tribes carved them as offerings, not currency. When conquistadors arrived, they saw only wealth. By the 1600s, the valleys ran with conflict, empires above ground, emerald wars below. The stone of clarity was born from chaos. Geologically, Colombia's emeralds differ from all others. They formed not in magma, but in veins of black shale and limestone, saturated with hydrothermal brine. A chemical quietude that birthed brilliance. But that same geology runs through lands scarred by struggle, miners' revolts, guerrilla control, and decades of bloodshed over who owns the green light buried beneath. In the 1980s, they called it La Guerra Verde, the Green War. Cartels, militias, and corporations fought for control. Entire towns became ghost stories. By the 2000s, Colombian emeralds were as feared as they were desired. Governments intervened, reforms followed, silence returned. But silence does not erase history. Today, most blood emeralds are traced, certified, ethically mined. But some still surface without a name. Stones cut from unrecorded veins. Polished, set, and sold under fluorescent light. Their past unspoken, their price immaculate. Collectors admire the color, chromium green with vanadium veins. Gemologists speak of birefringence, fracture, and refraction. But the mountain remembers other words: ownership, silence, loss. Culturally, emerald has always symbolized rebirth. In ancient myth, it was the stone of truth, the eye of the goddess Umina, who wept green tears over humanity's greed. Those tears hardened into the first emeralds, the legend says. Perhaps that's why the purest ones still seem to look back at us. No narration now, just images, rain over mine shafts, children playing near green rivers, a single rough stone on a miner's palm. He closes his hand. Silence. Because some stories are too quiet to retell, and some colors too costly to celebrate. In every stone we've seen, red, blue, green, lies not just color, but history. Beauty without memory is decoration, but beauty that remembers, that's legacy. Which of these forbidden gems would you hold if it could whisper its past? Tell us in the comments below, and join Tops again as we unearth not what glitters, but what endures. In the end, every forbidden gem tells the same quiet truth, that beauty has never belonged to us. The earth creates in silence, and we arrive too late, trying to claim what time already owns. Some of these stones were banned to protect the planet, others because they revealed too much of human desire. Yet no law, no border, no vault has ever stopped fascination itself. The moment light touches color, curiosity awakens, and somewhere, someone will still go searching. Each gemstone we've seen is more than a relic. It is a reflection, of greed and reverence, of extinction and memory. To hold one is to touch a paradox. The more forbidden it becomes, the more it seems alive. Perhaps that is why collectors still hunt them. Not for profit, but for proof that the earth once dreamed in colors beyond our reach. When the dust settles and the mines fall silent, these stones will remain, waiting under centuries of stillness. And when they are found again, they will not just sparkle, they will speak. So before the light fades, ask yourself, which of these forbidden gems would you risk everything to see with your own eyes?